All right, welcome to the Golden Belt Buckle Podcast. I appreciate you watching this video. As usual, if you like what you see and hear, then comment, like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we will get right into it. So a couple episodes ago, we were talking about the Driver Inc. model and what it is, who uses it, and how the government is pledging $77 million to start going after these bad actors. And today we're going to go into it a little bit more. I'm not going to get right into what Driver Inc. is because I already answered that question a few times over. But we're going to go into what exactly this enforcement is going to look like. So in a article by the Brampton Guardian, it says, in its recently released 2025 budget tabled before the House of Commons November 4th, the government is proposing the Canadian Revenue Agency lift the moratorium on T4 penalties. What is this moratorium? Where did it come from? Why was it instituted? What's the T4A, right? What is this? So let's talk about the T4A first. The T4A is like a T4, except it is for independent contractors. T4 is for employees. T4A is for independent contractors. Back in 2011, the Harper government added another box to the T4A for contractors, and it was Box 48. It was a declaration of how much money was paid to that contractor by the company. So in order, like everything else, okay, when you institute a new law, you're going to change the way things are done. A lot of times there's a grace period given. That way it doesn't catch businesses off guard and ruin it just doesn't ruin their operations, right? So they gave a period of grace for companies to start following these rules, right, to get their ducks in a row. That was in 2011. By 2015, I think it was when they were voted out, the grace period was still going on. So the companies that were taking advantage of this, you know, they already knew what they had to do. And instead of using that grace period to switch over how they were doing things, they saw it as another loophole and figured, well, until somebody comes after me, I'm not going to switch the way I'm doing things, because if I start declaring the way they want me to, I'm going to lose money, right? In the case of the Driver Inc. model, if they start declaring that their drivers, their independent contractors, start saying how much money the independent contractors, their drivers, are making, that would just be a red flag to the CRA to go after them, right? To see if they're actually classifying these drivers properly as independent contractors, or whether they should be classified as employees. So they would just not fill out Box 48. They left it blank, or they just didn't issue a T4A because nobody was enforcing it. There was a moratorium in place for this grace period, so nobody was getting punished for it. That was for the Harper government. So just when we approach this, we got to do it with caution. Like you can look at the Liberals, and I can come out with all sorts of criticisms for the Liberal government, right? The Liberals have instituted a lot of policies over the last 9-10 years that I believe have hurt our country. But the Conservatives have also instituted policies, because really 4 years, a 4-year grace period is a little bit excessive. I don't know, I'm not a businessman, but 4 years seems a little bit excessive. Why they let it go on that long? So because they let it go on that long, they got voted out. The Liberals didn't do anything about it either. So for all this time, employers they're still operating like Box 48 doesn't exist, right? They're just not filling it out, or they're not handing them out. And so the way it's going to look now is the Carney government's saying, no, we're going to close this loophole because it's creating unfair competition, right? And abuse, by the way. It's abusive. So they're lifting the moratorium, and companies are going to have to start declaring how much money they're paying to their independent contractors. And if they do this, this will mean that the truck driver who's working for, let's say, Logitrans or Dodge Trans or what, Dodgetrans, I don't know what the funny company names, they're going to have to start declaring how much money they're paying their independent contractors. And when they do that, that will be a red flag for the CRA when they're like, okay, Dodgetrans seems to have a lot of independent contractors making $100,000 a year. And this will be a red flag, and then they will go in and audit them. They'll start looking at dispatches. They'll start looking at logbooks. They'll start asking questions like, what equipment is this guy using, right? Is he using your equipment? Is he using his own equipment? Does he have to be exclusive to your dispatch? Can he take dispatch from other people? They're going to ask questions, the types of questions that you would ask to find out if someone is an employee or a subcontractor, right? And when they find out that this driver is actually more fitting of an employee than a subcontractor, they're going to say, hey, look, you've misclassified this driver. He's an employee. And what that's going to mean is, if you watch my other video, what this will mean is the employer who hasn't been paying the income tax on the part of this driver, no stat pay, no WSIB, right, no vacation pay, he's going to have to pay all that money back that he's been saving off this driver. And then they're going to go to the driver and they're going to say, hey, look, since you're an independent contractor, you're your own corporation, where's your corporate tax? You've been an independent contractor for what, 10 years? Where's all your corporate tax for the last 10 years? You didn't pay that, right? Because you still have to pay taxes. If you are on this model, you're obligated to still pay those taxes. So they're going to audit the driver as well as the company, and both of you are going to be off the crick. That's what's going to happen here. So I hope it happens because Driver Inc. has created, this is one of those things. Sorry, let me back up here. It's one of those things, you don't realize how bad people are getting screwed until you start looking into it, right? Then it becomes an issue. Excuse me. These Driver Inc. models, if you have not watched my other videos, the whole reason they do it is because if you don't need to pay WSIB, vacation pay, and stat pay, that if you as an employer don't need to pay those things out, that means your employees, contractors, cost less than other trucking companies' employees do, which means your overhead is less than their overhead, which means when you bid on a run from a shipper, you can charge less to the shipper. You can undercut other people who are following the rules, which makes you more competitive than the other your other carriers. Gives you an unfair advantage because you're not following the rules. So you can debate whether or not they're following the rules. Maybe they're just savvy business people are like, why would we change things if the government's not changing things, right? They're just taking advantage. That's the way the world works. So, but either way, they're closing the loophole. So that's what I got today. Until next time, cheers, keep the rubber side down.